Hello. You might be wondering what's going on, because I posted a video somewhat recently, and the truth is that previous video, when I uploaded it, there was a glitch, a strange glitch, and only on YouTube, and it made the image freeze for 2 minutes. So I tried to cut the part and re-upload the video, and it froze at a different part, and I tried to save it differently, and I uploaded it a third time. My computer is extremely slow, so uploading long videos takes ages, so all of this process took several days. And in the end, the third video was also frozen at some point. So yeah, I gave up. So the previous video has a glitch, and there's little I can do about that. So that was kind of frustrating that this happened, even though I'm very aware my videos are barely watched by maybe 20 people every time, but still, out of respect for these 20 people, I'm still frustrated. So I'm just filming a different thing, like hoping this one won't glitch like the previous one. So, what are we drawing today? I'm drawing a SCP fanart, based on a series of tales. Tales and SCPs, it's both of them, that was posted last year on the main branch by a team during a contest. That canon contest entry thing is called The Man in the White Suit. And as you might be aware, recently I wrote an SCP thing featuring nobody, and it wasn't my choice. I had to write about nobody, and at first I was kind of annoyed by that, because I didn't like this group of interest. I didn't like this character. I hadn't read a ton of things with nobody at that point, and my general impression of the character was that kind of mastermind, an annoying mastermind character who knows better than everybody at any point. And basically I don't really like mastermind type characters. I think they're annoying. So yeah, that was all very cliche, and in my opinion, and I wasn't really fond of this group of interests at all. So I decided to read what had been written more recently on that group, and found this contest entry. Contest series, I don't know, it's written by several authors too. There's Captain Kirby, Tufto, I'm not sure how you say that username, Rounderhouse, and I think Hoodenaz for the last part too. I think it's a collab. Anyway, and I really, and I mean really loved that series. And by I really love it, I mean I'm currently translating the entire thing at the speed of light, so that more people on the French branch can enjoy it, because of it. Nobody went from this character I was at best indifferent to this highly relatable entity trying to fit in the universe and failing at it. And I'm not saying the entire thing was perfect. In the middle especially, it kind of flags in the middle of the series. I think Nobody is my favorite group of interest now, just because of this new version, interpretation, canon, I don't know. Anyway, I really, really enjoyed it. And one of these stories is written by Tufto, and it's one of the very, very first ones. It's the second one. And it's called Chiaroscuro. And it's really, really good. I really loved it. And I decided to draw something about it. So here I am, drawing it. I'm drawing basically the very last lines of the story. So yeah, I'm going to transfer the video and I'll be back. Alright, so hey, I have a new pen. The previous ones were very, very damaged, both of them. So yeah, I started to translate this whole canon, SCP canon, a month ago. I translated the hub, which honestly was easy, but the code was a pain. And there was a picture with hard text on it, meaning the text was on the picture, and the background was non-repeating, meaning if I wanted to change the text, I couldn't copy the background either, and I didn't know the font used for the text either, because people love to make non-accessible things, I guess. But anyway, I still did it. It took me hours to imitate the background and to find a font that was sort of like the one used. Anyway, so I did that. I translated "Hello, my name isn't," which is basically the introduction for all the versions of Nobody that we follow in this story. And I really, really liked it. That's the one that partly inspired me to write my version of Nobody for the contest on the French branch. Do this cleanly. I don't know why. I'm just going to draw the branches a bit at random and hope it turns out okay. As one should. As I usually do. Anyway, then I translated the thing I'm currently trying to illustrate, Chiaroscuro. I'm still not sure how you say it. I know it's Italian, but I don't speak Italian, so sorry in advance if anyone is Italian and heard me butcher this word, which means in French it would be clair-obscur, which is funny because it's very similar to the Italian version. And in English it would be light and dark, I think. But clair-obscur is a very specific type of light, which isn't light or dark. It's like both. I don't know if I make sense. And I'm glad the Italians have the same concept, but apparently my English isn't cutting it, if it exists in English. And then there's... then I translated one which is... the title is very long. Something like nobody encounters the man in the white suit. It's pages from their journals through the years, and they are increasingly concerned about this guy in a white suit following them and knowing everything about them. And the last one I translated recently was SCP 5353. Does anyone remember Fritz Obermeyer? So far my favorite is Chiaroscuro, so I wanted to draw it. And it's weird to say because, as I said, it's not the one that inspired me the most, but it's very well written and I really enjoyed it. It kind of has a film noir vibe to it. Spoiler alert, that's at the end of the story, when this version of nobody has buried the man in a white suit in a grave after having shot him in the kneecaps. Dear God. Just in case, you know. And walks away in the forest. And the mental picture I had of it was very beautiful, and so I wanted to draw it because that's what happens every time. My brain is going to illustrate the thing as I'm reading it, and I'm going to really want the mental picture to be a real thing that I can share. I had a very clear mental picture of this forest, this snowy forest, and because I had recently seen paintings from a Russian painter with a lot of beautiful lighting in it and very impressive trees. And I don't know how to express how impressive his trees are, and I instantly thought about his paintings. And obviously I'm not going to make anything that looks even close to the mood from his paintings, but I just wanted to evoke them. So basically I have one of them mirrored on my screen, and I'm kind of basing this forest on it. Why mirrored? Because I wanted the hat to be on the left side, and the left side of the drawing already had the biggest tree in it, so I thought it would be more fitting. I'm just drawing the place where the moon is, so I don't lose track of it. I'm gonna switch back to the better pen. And I drew, I didn't show this in the previous part of the video, but I was really bored during a reunion at my job, and I doodled these things in preparation for that, because that's what you do when you're in a boring reunion. You think about SCP tales. about people burying other immortal people after shooting them in the kneecaps, of course. I'm saying the one that inspired me to write was the first tale, Hello, My Name Isn't. One of the incarnations of Nobody it is a girl. That blew a fuse in my mind, and that's when I decided to write a trans mask Nobody, and I did. So, speaking of which, my beta readers for the translation of my thing are almost done. So yeah, going to make it more accessible very soon. I'm gonna erase the lines and I'll be back. Welcome back. So we're going to make the shadows with neutral tint watercolor, as they call it. Who are they? I don't know, but they call it. I don't know if I've explained it before. It's a sort of black, but with a bluish tint to it. For some reason, it looks better when there's ink on top. Don't ask me how it works. I have absolutely no idea. Like almost everything I do in art or in life in general. So yeah, we are going to put it on basically everywhere because the light source is there and that's the only one. So a lot of shadows in this wood. Or in these woods? I'm still confused. Is there a difference? In the forest, in the woods? I don't know. English speakers, please help me. Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope. Anyway. So yeah, a lot of shadows. I don't remember where, but someone commented I very often drew people with their back turned and light sources that are in front of the camera with shadows like that, which is very unnatural usually, and not a very good idea in art. As if I knew what I was doing again. Real talk, I have no idea why I like putting light sources like that in front of the camera, because it makes no sense practically. I just like the mood it makes, I think. The characters with the face away from the viewers, that I know exactly how to explain it. I don't know if you know that about me if you're watching this video, but I'm not face blind exactly, but I'm very close to what's considered face blind. When I was tested for it, I could recognize a face. I could identify a face correctly 72% of the time. And that might sound somewhat high, but humans aren't supposed to fail nearly 30% of the time, apparently. And basically, I'm 2% away from the stage where it's considered pathological. So yeah, I'm not face blind, but it's a real problem to me. And for that reason, drawing faces is a problem also for me. And weirdly enough, I can imagine emotions better when the characters aren't looking at the viewer. Recently, we talked about the Doctor Who episode Heaven Sent with a friend. Heaven Sent is my favorite Doctor Who episode ever. The cinematography in it is amazing, and I'm not even touching the story. But it was really strange because that friend is very passionate about drawing the eyes of the characters, and she says all the emotion is there, and we were showing each other our favorite screenshots of the episode, and all of her favorite ones, bar one or two, were screenshots where the Doctor's eyes were in plain view, and all of mine, his face was in the shadows, and not just a bit either, like entirely in the shadows. And I don't know why I can feel things better when I don't see people's faces, but it's true. I don't really know how it works. I just know it's linked to my face blindness, and yeah, which is kind of fitting for nobody in a way. I mean, we are not supposed to remember how he looks like, so in a way that's rather fitting. As I said, I hope to be able to upload the translation of my my own nobody story on the int branch, because I want more friends to read it. I'm not. I don't. I know for a thing that people from the main branch will not care for it. Simply because it's written by a French person, and I'm not gonna dance around it, but they basically hate our guts. If you are a French speaker, do not go on their Discord. It's literally hell. They're going to trash talk you or us at the smallest opportunity. And if you're saying you're translating stuff for the branch or writing stuff for your branch, there's a good chance one of them might say translation branches should either not exist or just translate things and never write in their own language, because that's the thing I saw people say there. So that's very disheartening, because we are so passionate about what we do, and we spend hours and hours translating things just so that people can shit on us. And we tried several times to talk to them about it. At some point, we even had we even hoped we could, because people from that from the SCPD chat were open to make a vocal chat with two members of our branch, me and someone who used to be an admin but who isn't for a related reason anymore, and so that we could work things out. But they never. We were like, yeah, super cool. Just tell us the day, the hour, and we'll be there. because we really want this to be better for everyone, and they never contacted us again. We are still going to translate stuff from the main branch, even though they hate us. But it kind of hurts, you know. It's a thankless job, and it's not even paid, so you have to be very passionate about what you do to continue doing it. This thing I'm making fan art of several of the authors of this thing actively hate us and are very vocal about it. So yeah, won't stop me from appreciating what they do and trying to separate art from the author, because I think that's the right thing to do in this case. But it's still kind of depressing. And the saddest part is it came from a very, very dumb event. There was one guy, I insist it was one guy from our branch, who decided he didn't like the look of some articles. I think it was the ones with ACS on it, on the main branch, and downvoted all of them. And another random guy who's been banned since decided to do the same thing. And two random guys, including one who's been banned, for them meant the entire... You read their stuff, it's like the entire French branch decided to downvote their stuff, even though it was just two guys. It makes literally no sense. But here we are. And that's really sad, and I wish this situation would change, but they don't want to talk to us, and they don't want to do anything about it, so stalemate. And as long as I can translate stuff from them in peace and appreciate their stuff without them being actively trying to prevent me from doing it, I'm good with that. Okay, I think it looks pretty. I think it looks pretty good so far. I'm not going to throw flowers at myself, but I think it looks really nice. See you later. And we're back for the color. Actually, the first layer of color, because if you watched my videos a little, you know that most of the color is made with ink and not with watercolor. Also, I'm not sure I'm gonna put a lot of watercolor here, because a lot of this is snow. It's not gonna stay white, because the ink on top is gonna color it all kinds of ways, but yeah. Mostly I want the trees to look brown, so that's the main goal here. Anyway, forgot what I was talking about yesterday, what I was doing this. I think I was talking about the whole main branch versus French branch feud, which again makes no sense, but it's gotten to the point where I hesitate every time I want to leave a comment on an article on the main branch, because one time I left a comment that was... The comment itself wasn't entirely negative, but I was saying that I that the guy who wrote the thing had written really good things before, and I was very and I was a big fan of the things he used to write. And that one article I was commenting on disappointed me, and I said it, and one guy tried to spin what I said to say I was being condescending, and I should be banned. So you literally can't say anything to these people. If it's not glowing praise, it's immediately they start menacing you and stuff. So speaking of glowing praise, I'm going to talk about this canon again because again, I said it already, but I was completely indifferent to nobody before, and without changing much about the character, turning them into this highly relatable character who you empathize with. It's this is why I love SCP Foundation so much. You're gonna have concepts that do nothing for you, and all of a sudden, some people will try something ever so slightly different with them, and suddenly it works. And that's why this project it is so cool, and that's why I've been so passionate about SCP Foundation for nearly 10 years at this point. I arrived on the French branch in 2012, and it had just been founded. So yeah, nearly 10 years at this point. I was still in my first job. Time flies. And I mean, at first I was mostly doing translations because, let's be real, I was bored at my job. I'm not gonna go into details, but you had to be very reactive, but there were moments where you had nothing to do, but you still had to be there, and that's a recipe for boredom if I know one. And but even if you had nothing to do, you had to pretend you had, because otherwise you could lose your job, which makes absolutely no sense. But anyway, the solution I found was to pretend I was working, and it was easier if I was actually working on something which was not my job but still work. And translation work was a very good alternative and made me feel useful. You also have to know I'm extremely bad at lying, and I mean this really, really extremely. And so actually working was the best solution for me because I didn't have to lie about it. So yeah, at the time I translated a lot of things very, very quickly, and it helped a lot with my English, which was still a bit shaky when I was 22 or so. the English language you learn in school has very little to do with the one you have to use in real life, and it's very literary, and having to translate dialogue where people talk more naturally was a very good exercise. I'm not really sure what I'm doing with the sky there, but I still like what it's doing. I'm not sure. I don't check the stats on SCP. I don't even know how to pronounce the name of that site. SCP per SCP pair SCP per. I don't know. There's a site where you can check the stats of people on your branch and stuff, and how much they're writing, how much they're translating and stuff. At some point years ago, I was the person with the most translation on the French website, on the French branch. I think it changed. I think there's 2 people who translated more stuff than me now. But I still do a lot of translations. I think it's very, very important to make things more accessible to more people. It's important to learn more language than your own. It's very, very important, but it's also important to remember that it's impossible to learn all of them. And it's also important to remember that whatever the language is, someone will write something good at some point, and other people might want to read it. And that's why the international branch is so important. And again, I really want more people to read this story about Nobody and this man in the white suit chasing him, and what does he want? Who is he? What does nobody wants, for that matter? How does he feel about this whole situation he's in? Jumping from body to body and knowing nothing about who he is in the grand scheme of things, apart from some sort of handyman of the universe. Which is a very Doctor Who concept when you say it like that, but there's something tragic to it, and also a bit funny in some sort of dark way. Also, there's funny things in the canon itself, like there's this weird running joke about nobody isn't supposed to have a personality that jumps from one body to another one, and not supposed to have any defining characteristic that stays over time. And I use the word supposed to because actually there's some stuff that stays from one incarnation to the next one, and one of those things is really dumb, and it makes me laugh every time, even though it's really stupid. And it's he likes waffles. That's really dumb, but it makes me laugh every time. And there's another thing in that canon. It's the fact that the people from the Foundation trying to catch Nobody and the man in the white suit every time, at every era, because we're following the characters in 4 different eras. The person who's the closest to catch them every time is someone called Malice, and they're all from the same family, and it's just a big coincidence, but it's also very funny. Like at the beginning, you're like, "Oh yeah, you're related to that guy from that previous era." Okay, I get it. And then there's another one, and and they're like, what's going on? Is there a dark reason we're always followed by this Malise family? But no, it's just a big coincidence, and you're 100 years in the future, and there's still someone called Malise trying to stop you. So, what's going on? Nothing. It's just a coincidence. I think it's just super funny. Okay, I'm just going to add a bit more of shadows on his coat. I don't want it to look completely black because it's supposed to be a grey coat, but yeah, that's better. Okay, I'll see you later for the ink. Okay, so now it's the part with the inks, and I would like to solemnly announce that once again I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm going to start with the things I'm somewhat certain about, and as usual it's the places that are dark. So I want a black here, and this looks dangerous. I'm gonna just, yeah. I might be reckless with inks, but not that reckless. Sometimes when I was in general art classes on Saturday, and we were painting stuff, sometimes I would take an entire tube of paint and plop a bit of paint right on the top of the painting, and every single time the teacher would cringe. I don't know what to tell you. If I want that color, I have no need to mix it on the palette. I just want the color. So let's go. Speaking of mixing colors, I like this brown bluish atmosphere, but I have no idea how I'm going to replicate it with inks. So that's what I was talking about when I said I had no idea what I was doing. So that's a lot of brown. I'm not sure I'm gonna need that much. That's why I have several spaces on the palette, I think, but if you've noticed, I so far I try to avoid talking about the story I was illustrating, mostly because I don't want to spoil things from this canon for people who want to read it, because I think the twist is it's both somewhat obvious but really well done. I don't know if I make sense. I don't like this spoiler culture that has developed over the years, where people consider that if you say anything about a thing you enjoyed, you ruin the experience for other people. I think if your movie or your story relies entirely on a surprise reveal to be good, then it's not that good if it doesn't have any other quality to it. Of course, I don't think it's a good idea to be mean and spoil things just to annoy people. That's just being an asshole. But like, if you're talking about a thing with someone else who's already seen the thing, and there's someone else going, spoilers, I haven't seen that yet, Like, it's on you, buddy. I'm sorry, we're just talking. We were just talking about things we liked, so... Anyway, I guess I can still talk about the general idea of the canon if I don't talk about the story itself, or the reveals at the end, or near the end. As you might already be aware if you're watching this video, because I'm not sure why you would watch this video if you weren't an SCP fan, or somewhat already knowledgeable about SCP stuff. As you might be aware, nobody is a group of interests or person of interests. In his case, he's a person who doesn't exist and steals a body of existing people to do stuff. We are not exactly sure what nobody is doing, but seems to be important stuff to him, but it's not entirely clear to the Foundation what his goals are. We know he wants, quote, his existence to have meaning, but that's about it. So some authors have interpreted this as he wants to leave a trace in the world, he wants to change the world, he wants to make a change for the better or for the worse. It really depends on how people who are writing things about him see things. So this is a canon about nobody being followed by a mysterious other entity through the ages, through the entire 20th and 21st centuries, and trying to understand why this person is following him. Or I should say them, because one of the versions of nobody in this canon is a woman. And we follow 4 versions of nobody in various stories. There's one who becomes nobody in the trenches during the First World War. There's one who's basically a hobo in the US. There's someone who becomes nobody super young and when they're a little girl, and who's very confused for a while, and a researcher from the Foundation who's like, everyone forgot I existed, but also everyone forgot I was an employee there, and they didn't revoke my access, so that's interesting. Through all these incarnations, they're being followed by this guy who clearly hates them, but never actually explains clearly what his problem is with nobody. And in the end we learn what it is, and it's a very nice, logical but a very nice reveal, and I really like the ending too. I'm not sure how to deal with this space there. I'm going to try to put a little bit of blue. I don't want to kill this beautiful red we have going on there, but I don't want it to be that bright too. I want it to be a bit darker. I know I say that a lot in my videos, but again, no idea what I'm doing. I'm just going with the flow and trying to not ruin the nice things we already did with the watercolor. Eesh, maybe too blue, I don't know. Bit of brown too. Yeah, that's better. I think we're good. I think we're good for now. Next part is going to be the highlights. It's always the most interesting part to make, I think. All the little lights and stuff. Should I put something there? I'm not sure. A bit more brown there. The moon is a bit too bright. I'm trying to fix this. I didn't notice before, but this part isn't red. Not sure we can fix it at this point, but yeah, that's a bit better. It's not perfect, but it's a bit better. Actually, you know what? I hope I'm not going to regret this. I just had a thought. I imagine this word with a capital T. I had a thought. We're going to color the light with this little brush. I hope I won't regret this, but here we go. It might be, I don't know how to say it, egotistical maybe, I don't know. But the thing that really made me love this interpretation of nobody through the ages in this canon is the whole identity crisis all of them was going through every time they became nobody was highly relatable, if that makes sense, in a queer way, in a transgender way. There's a blink and you miss it moment in one of the tales with the nobody who goes by she, where she not mentions, but the text comments, she's never felt well in this particular incarnation, and her body constantly feels like it doesn't belong to her, like even less than the previous ones. And yep, that's a mood right there. Yeah, so I called the shadows, and are you ready for something really, really dangerous? This is blood red. That was the thought I had. I think it would be nice if some of the shadows were almost blood red. And maybe I'm going to regret this, but I think it would be nice, so let's try this. No, this is nice. This was a good call. I don't know, there's something really, really... There's a whole queer aspect to the whole... I woke up one day in this body and I had no idea who I was or why I was there. And I've been trying to understand what was going on ever since then. I think that's, of all things, that's what made me realize that group of interest was my favorite. Yeah, no, that was a good call. We're going to continue. I'm not gonna go overboard with that on the snow, but the branches, sure, the trees, yeah, definitely. And that's also what's great about writing things with other people. You bounce ideas off each other, and you end up with cool concepts like that. The funniest part is the girl nobody in that series of stories, tales slash canon. The weirdest thing is that I think she's my least favorite version of the character in the tale. I mean, the German guy, who's the guy right there. I think he's really cool. The second one, the hobo, is absolutely feral, and I really enjoyed translating his dialogue in SCP 5353. And the researcher has this bittersweet quality to everything he does. Oh, speaking of feral, I hadn't read the entire canon by the time I wrote this my tale about nobody. And in Miroir Fumant, that thing I keep talking about, and that's what I'm talking about right there. In Miroir Fumant, there's a scene that was, I'm not gonna lie, very difficult to write for me, especially because I didn't plan to write it from the get-go, so I had to improvise it, basically. It wasn't in my plan. There's a thing where I'm not gonna say what happens exactly, but that version of nobody has to defend himself from a guy, and he bites the guy so hard on the ear, the guy loses a part of his ear. And at that point, when I wrote that, I hadn't read SCP 5353, and I was extremely surprised but delighted to see that this feral hobo incarnation of nobody I was talking about also bites someone in that story. And you know that meme with the guy saying it's weird that it happened twice. Yeah, exactly. I was delighted to see that someone else had looked at the character and said, this person bites people and there's nothing you can do against that. Okay, I really like what we've done here. So, yeah, that was a good call. That was a bit dangerous, and speaking of which, yes, look, red moon. And a bit more. I'm feeling courageous today. Very good. Alright, I'm gonna let this dry, and I'll see you later for arguably the most interesting part, where we put the lights everywhere. I see you later. So it's time to add the lights, and as you can guess, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to do this, because I have all these watercolor pencils around, and usually I only use this one, but I'm not sure I want the lights to be entirely white. And I already know I'm not gonna use this one because I just tried and it wasn't right. So far, I think I kinda stayed on topic on this video. I mostly talked about SCP, which is kind of rare for me, staying on topic. If you've watched my previous video, I was drawing Doctor Who stuff, and I think I only talked about Doctor Who related things for like maybe 20% of the video at best. Instead I talked about the history of instant coffee, 19th century literature, mostly horror literature, but I also talked about Oscar Wilde. And because I talked about Oscar Wilde, and I mentioned I had reread a very good story written by him recently. Because of that, and because of something that I think the English language doesn't have a word for this, because every time I tried to find one, there was no English equivalent of l'esprit d'escalier. I'm gonna explain later what it is, but because of l'esprit d'escalier, I ended up talking about Oscar Wilde's grave, and about the fact that it's kind of a tradition in the queer community in France to go there and kiss the glass panels people put to protect the monument in front of the grave. And some people also write loving messages to Oscar Wilde on the glass panels. So yeah, I ended up talking about all of these things instead of talking about Doctor Who. And l'esprit d'escalier. I'm trying to find a suitable translation for l'esprit d'escalier. The staircase mindset. But the word used for mindset also means spirit. So it's both the mindset, the staircase mindset, and the spirit of the staircase, which is why I really love this expression. And I deeply regret the English language doesn't have an equivalent. The staircase mindset is when you're talking about a thing and it makes you think about something else, and something else, and something else, and you end up talking about something that seems to be completely unrelated to the first thing, but in your mind, it's perfectly clearly related. Let's say you were trying to go to the first floor and you ended up on the 10th floor instead, and you're like, how did I end up there? Why am I talking about this? But it's perfectly logical, you just follow the staircase. So yeah, I really like this word. More like this expression. And I really regret there isn't an English equivalent of that. Okay, it's not entirely a spoiler, but I kind of want to talk about my favorite part of Chiaroscuro, the thing I'm currently illustrating. But to explain it, I'll have to give some context. So if you want to read the story and know nothing, almost nothing about it beforehand, you might want to skip ahead. So this version of Nobody, who's a German guy, is currently looking for someone in post-Second World War Berlin at the beginning of the story, and it's heavily implied he's looking for the next Nobody, for his successor. While he's doing that, there's a guy who actually there's two people following him. There's the man in the white suit, but he doesn't know that at the beginning, and another guy who tries his best to be a spy for the Americans, who lives in Berlin, and who's a German guy with pretty serious war trauma, let's say. And the guy is following Nobody, and he's very, very, very bad at it. Nobody doesn't want to hurt him, but he really wants the guy to leave him alone. And he has a plan. And I love that plan because it's both very effective, terrifying, but completely inoffensive for the guy. I'm just going to tell what happens from the perspective of the guy following him. So the guy notices Nobody left town for a while, and he's like, okay, I'm really curious about this little notebook he carries around with him at all times, and I'm pretty sure he's a spy or something. And if I can find this notebook, I will have a lot of informations, because he's always writing in it. So I'm gonna go to his apartment in Berlin and try to find the notebook, hoping he left it there while he's away. And then I'll know everything I need to know about what he's doing. And that will be very cool to send that to my other spy friends. And he goes to Nobody's apartment, and he starts looking around for the notebook, and he finds it. And when you're reading that, you're like, what? Because his notebook is very important to him, and it's not like he's going to let it be found by anyone for no reason, and it's even less likely that he's going to leave it behind like that. But from the perspective of the guy, it's like, oh yes, he left the notebook there. It's perfect. I'm gonna know everything. And so he opens it, and I swear when I first read it, I laughed out loud. The notebook is full of drawings of himself. And not just drawings of him following Nobody either, like drawings of stuff that happened a long time ago for him, like his wedding before the war and stuff like that. And plenty of drawings of him hiding behind walls, following Nobody around, pictures of him at funerals, and stuff that happened a long time ago. And the guy completely panics and runs away, leaving the notebook there. which was the plan, which was exactly what nobody wanted, because he hasn't left town at all. He's just around waiting for this trap to work. And the guy, the spy, is under the impression nobody has been following him for years because of these drawings. But no, it's not what happened. Nobody just went to his home, found pictures and photographs in his stuff, and copied them in his journal, in his notebook, as if he were there at the time. But it just copies of photographs, and I thought that was very, very funny, and that was a very, very good trick. Like, just imagine you're going through the stuff of someone else, and you find drawings, dozens of drawings of you. that must be absolutely terrifying, especially if you're completely sure the guy doesn't know you and you've been super discreet this whole time. So yeah, I really liked that plan. The guy wasn't hurt in the process. Nothing was stolen, nothing was broken. I don't know, I just think it's absolutely perfect. The guy wasn't hurt, the guy was just scared, and that's all that matters. Yeah, I just love reading a thing. And I mean, it's a very basic feeling when you read something, but I love reading something and going, "Oh, that was clever. That was great." And somehow it has more value when it happens when you read something written by someone who's not a professional writer. And I mean, I can enjoy a lot things written by professional writers, but when you read something written by someone who, like you, is an amateur and just doing this out of passion for the craft, and you read the thing and you go, "Oh, that's clever." That's a different kind of "oh, that's clever." I'm not going to say it's more natural. I'm not going to say it has more value either. I'm not sure how to define it. It's just more satisfying when it's coming from someone who's not a professional and who found something really clever, and the person is just sharing this with the world for free. I'm trying not to get to go overboard with the lights, because our nameless friends must be mostly in the shadows. Yeah, this hat is very small, and I have to add very, very little. It's smaller than my smallest nail, so not a lot of surface to work with. I think we're good for the lights with the watercolor pencil. I'm just gonna add a bit more snow here. The thing with color is you're constantly tricking the eye into seeing things a certain way when they aren't drawn or colored that way. What I'm trying to say is you're perceiving this as snow and as white snow, but none of this is colored as white. This is yellow, this is purple, this is brown. But your brain interpreted the entire thing as snow, and so it's sending to you that it's white. Now I'm using Posca, white Posca. It makes really, really harsh lights, so I'm trying not to go too far with it either. You might not hear it in the final version of this video, but I probably had to cut a lot of and hesitations and editing those is a pain in the ass. Let's just be real, because not because it's long, but because I have to hear my own voice, and my own voice is so high-pitched. It's horrible. I think a lot of people who are trying to talk about dysphoria and who don't experience it mostly talk about body dysphoria. I think dysphoria related to voice is way worse. At least in my case and in my opinion, it's just something that really, really annoys me. As you can guess, seeing this white hat on a stick and this grave, as I said before, the story doesn't end well for the man in the white suit. It's only for a moment, though. He will be back to annoy nobody. Should I add clouds? How much time do we have left? Oh, not a lot. I'm just going to add little lights on the tree there. Again, I'm gonna have to do the second line art off camera because it's really boring and adds nothing. It's just the same lines you've already seen previously, but a second time. I'm just going to add a couple of clouds, I think. I can always erase them if they're not good. No, that's a good idea. That's a good call. Again, I want to solemnly announce I have no idea what I'm doing at all times, so sometimes on my blog there's people going, "How do you do this and that?" And I'm like, I don't know, you tell me. I just add stuff to the stuff until the stuff looks okay. I mean, I've always had a good sense of colors, but that's about it. The rest I'm just completely improvising. I know how to trick the eye to pretend something is one color when it's another color entirely, but I don't really think about it. It's not like a conscious process. It's something I can explain, but it just happens when I do the thing. I'm not sure I want to add more clouds because I kind of want to save this bluish, reddish night sky. Not going to add stars for once. Yeah, and I think we're good. Just going to sign it. Oh, it's the 4th of July. I didn't realize that. Okay. Yeah. I think this looks pretty good, and yeah, see you later.